Welcome to the Reading Regional Airport. Built in 1938 as a WPA project, this hangar was the original which served flights out of Reading. Berks County's desire for an airport began in the wake of World War I. By the late 1920s, pioneering pilots like Charles Lindbergh and Amelia Earhart thrust aviation into the spotlight. Capitalizing on this popularity, small airfields like Wander Field in Onalani Township opened in 1927, and Madeira Field in Muhlenberg Township in 1929. While these first fields paved the way for the introduction of aviation in Berks County, many felt that neither was close enough to Reading proper, and that the greater Berks County area should be served by a municipal airport. Businessmen and prominent leaders in the community led the effort. They demanded that Reading be put on the map by pioneering air traffic as a means of commerce and travel. In the 1930s, President Franklin Roosevelt began the Works Progress Administration to create jobs and improve infrastructure as a means to curb the economic depression that began in 1929 with the plunging stock market. In 1935, the WPA announced it would be willing to contribute to a Reading Airport project as long as it was built on publicly owned land. The site chosen in Bern Township, just over city lines, consisted of 3 farms and was purchased jointly, split 50-50 by the city and county in February of 1936. Construction began in the summer of 1936. The airport was opened to air traffic in August of 1939 and dedicated officially that October. By the time the airport was finished, World War II had just begun, although the United States would not get involved for another 2 years. In 1942, the federal government utilized Reading Airport as a base of domestic military operations and quickly constructed additional infrastructure on the site to support the war effort. This original hangar is allegedly haunted, though I have found no record of a death occurring within the structure. Plenty of crashes and subsequent deaths have occurred around the airport. The story goes that as an employee was closing up the airport for the night, he switched off all of the lights, including the light on the top level of the observation tower. As he was driving away down Burnville Road, he noticed in his rearview mirror that the light was back on. The beacon that sits on top of the hangar was donated to the airport by Pomeroy's department store. It sat on top of the Pomeroy's building at 6th and Penn Street downtown beginning in 1927 to guide air traffic. This J. Victor Dallin aerial photo of Reading shows it on top of Pomeroy's in 1931. Pomeroy's discontinued using it sometime after the courthouse was built in 1931, as the courthouse obstructed the beam in its direction. This structure housed planes and passengers waiting for flights until the new terminal building was completed in 1961. The amenities included Currently, the hangar is still home to many planes, but a little bit of TLC is on the horizon. Airport Director Zachary Tempesco says future plans include updating the structure with new paint, flooring, and safety updates for occupancy, while committing to staying true to the historical integrity of the building. I want to leave you with something to think about. I have noticed that any mention of the airport elicits a response of wishing that passenger flights were still available from Reading Regional. It is important to understand a few things about this topic. Passenger flights from Reading Regional ceased around 2004 in a post 9/11 environment. The fact is, we were flying less, and it was no longer economically feasible for these airlines to provide service to us. 2 decades have passed, but that issue remains. While Reading Regional Airport has remained open and committed to exploring scheduled service options, it ultimately has to be profitable for the airlines to provide to us. Mirroring when commercial aviation broke its way onto the scene in the 1920s, it was the cries from local citizens and businesses that got the ball rolling. Maybe 100 years later, it's up to us to get it back.